Hello, everyone, and welcome to OpenCast slash OpenPlay. Um, I'm Vashiev, and joining me today is
Little King.
all right. And while I'm goofing off in Minecraft because I am an ADD adult idiot,
That's
we are
okay.
going to discuss Tokusatsu, primarily Kamen Rider Revice and Avataro Sentai Dawn Brothers.
Let the mayhem commence.
Um, I feel it'd be easier to just start with Dawn Brothers,
Let's do it.
primarily because there's only been 2 episodes out.
Less complicated.
Right. So, right before we get into it, a lot of people who will probably be following this or watching this know myself and King from the Toku Portal podcast, where we covered Rider and Sentai. We're not going to be as detailed as that, because it would take way too much damn time, mainly because we've got like 26 episodes of Revice. It'll just more be in general and what characters are like, etc., etc.
Basically, it's your one-stop shop for toku gushing.
So, starting with Avatar Sentai Dawn Brothers. First and foremost, I have to get it out of this way. I need to know how this fucking world works.
I know, right?
um, the primarily reason why I need to know how the world works is because it's basically, as the way, what little explanation there seems to be, is there's a VR world placed on top of the actual world, for lack of a better term.
That seems to be the case, yeah.
The only way to see it is with these special glasses, which the main characters get.
And apparently, whenever they do, everyone besides the red gets horrendously bad luck.
The part that confuses me with it and why I need to know how this world works is the grunts of the series are literally just there. Like they're in disguises. Like they look human and then the glasses get put on and then, ta-da, we have bad guys floating around. The issue I
And
have
then
with
whenever they fight, it just looks like they're fighting regular people. It's weird.
right, and like I need to know what other people are seeing. Like when they start fighting, then do like, because they're using the glasses at the time this happens. Ow. Do they like quote unquote disappear from this world? Like from view of everybody else, or what the hell?
I mean, that is possible. We did see a couple of them enter doorways and pop up on the other side of the city.
Right, but at the same time, when specifically in episode 2, well, and 1 is like they're directly interacting with normal people too while transformed, so it's not exactly the case. Is why I need rules for how this world exists.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna set up a world this intricate and over the top, you really gotta set some ground rules up front about how specific things work. But I guess they could be saving that for when the team finally does come together in reality, because so far, even if they've seen glimpses of their normal selves, they've only ever interacted in VR.
Right. Like the only one who's interacted with and truthfully fully interacted with somebody is, as of this episode, Blue and Yellow, unknowingly, and Red and Black, again, unknowingly, and then Yellow and Kaito.
And he technically does it. Well, are we saying he counts because he's still a ranger?
I I say he counts, but he works differently.
Yeah, extra ranger. Let's call it that.
Yeah, like he would be, for lack of a better term, since this series is going to get equated to Gokaiger a lot.
Hmm.
We're just going to call Kaito basically this show's Akaret.
Yeah, and he's
Like,
not dead either. So
right,
that's a plus.
like he 100% knows what's going on in this world and can directly involve himself, but doesn't need the current Rangers stuff.
In fact, he can influence their arsenal as he pleases.
Right. Because it has been heavily implied that because after they defeat the monsters, Kaito collects a gear. Because so far the monsters have been some variation of a world monster. Like episode
With
two.
a slight spattering of Sentai influence, especially if TokuCraft is anything to go by.
Right. So this gear, they defeat this monster in episode two, and they get the TokuCraft gear. Um, but it is heavily implied that any gear that he collects, they have collected as well.
Interesting.
Whether or not that stands to stay true, we won't know until, we physically get that confirmation.
What I find interesting is that they can still access those gears as if they themselves collected them, but again, it only ever seems to be in VR. But Kaito has the physical gears.
Right. So it's like basically something, or however the Dawn Brothers powers work specifically, for lack of a better term, they seem to be leeching off of Kaito's.
Hmm.
Which, to be fair, we kind of knew was going to be a thing after the gears, the ending gears in Zenkaiger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the show has taken a unique starting point for this show. Because I feel this is one of the first Sentai series that has not focused on Red to start with.
Yeah, that's very true. It's given him a lot of attention, but he's not the main focus yet.
Right. Like, he very much becomes the main focus in every episode during the fight because,
How can he not?
well, somebody wrote a joke and somebody decided to make it extra.
Like the critical writer's room. Don't say it out loud. It can't come true.
Right. So it was put out that Momotaro would show up on that thing. I forget what the actual name of it is, but basically the stand with people carrying them, like old school royalty did. It was written in more or less as like a joke. Like nothing, it wasn't expected to be this far. Oh my god, there's lava, that's why. Sorry, I came across a forest fire and didn't know why. Because I didn't set it. So like, because that got put in there, is like the rest of the writers just took it, ran with it, and made it like 8 times extra.
Because of course they did.
So now it is like the flashiest, most obnoxious fucking thing for a Sentai member entrance. Personally.
You know
it's
what
not
this
bad.
kind of reminds? It kind of feels in the same vein of anybody who's caught up on like Power Ranger lore, not the main show, but behind the scenes stuff, it sort of feels like the mentality that RPM and In Space had, which was screw it. If this is going to be the final season, let's go all out. You know what I mean?
Right. Like
I'm
this
hoping
is
that's not the case, but I mean, it kind of has that same vibe.
like so speaking of that, there's been rumors running around that this may be the last season of Sentai under the guise of how we are used to getting it. This pretty much non-stop Sentai train. Um Whether or not that holds true, I don't know. I personally am assuming not,
Same.
given the fact that pretty much since we've started this podcast, that is all I've heard every year, that this is going to be the last season of Sentai, then it's going to go on break and we'll get like series movies or, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Like, we've been hearing that nonstop for the last 5 years.
Only now, apparently, Red's actor sent out a tweet saying that they'll be the last one. I'm still calling Bush, though.
Okay, so to be fair, that's not how it read. That's what got implied. Because, to be fair, toy sales have been kind of meh, but it's Sentai toy sales are always meh compared to Rider. And that's not to say it's bad, but these are shows where, unlike in the US, it's like 100% toy sales are everything for these shows.
Yeah.
Like that is 90% of the show's funding.
Without that, they're kind of screwed.
So I get it if toy sales suck. I mean, it's why we've had, for like, even counting Zenkaiger, is why we've had so many series involving dinosaurs.
Not
Because
to mention, it's partially why they've been a little more lenient on expanding them. I mean, I don't know how many of us still get the toys here, but if it's any, I've noticed that a lot of people that do collect say that it's getting slightly easier because I think they're starting to let up and realize the market is in the West too, so they're trying to expand however much they possibly can.
right. So in theory, on that, in the end, if they open up their market to the West, which clearly they've been doing, let's not mince that. Because of how easy things are able to be accessed on Amazon, and how collectors themselves have been able to get things and resell them, and then to include instances, I need to run away, for like the like back when it was a store, Toys R Us would even Toys R Us would I can't tell you the number of times I've gone in and found the Japanese version of Daijujin, which is the Japanese version of the NPR Megazord. And oh my god, how I wish I had the money for those.
Hard to get.
Oh yeah, and oh how I wish I had the money every time I went there.
I feel that.
But they're also starting to release things in the US through Shout Factory. Is if you go to Tokusatsu, I mean, they have, to be fair, and it's fairly older stuff. For Sentai and Rider. Now, Tokusatsu has a lot more Sentai than Rider. Because, I mean, it pretty much has everything from Ranger, which was Mighty Morphin, up through, like, Wild Force. And maybe further.
I mean, look at Time Force. That's one of the most beloved series of Power Rangers. They barely had any toys, so their sales were shit.
Right. Like, it's slowly getting better for us. And I will openly admit we don't deserve shit.
Yeah.
given Tokusatsu's fan base in the West, they're some of the most entitled, for pardon my language, but they're entitled fuckheads. Um,
I mean,
like you have subgroups who don't listen and can't listen, and then you have the fan base who gets pissed off just because like a series decided to when a series was airing. This is one of the issues I noticed with the O's 10th anniversary movie. People bitched about the particular people that subbed it because back when that show aired, they spelled greed with only two e's. So that's shit subs, and why should I want shit subs? Is like, oh my god, you're getting this shit for free. Shut the hell up.
hmm yeah, I can understand that sentiment. Not the argument you just gave, but like in general that we're spoiled. It's
And
just, I
and
don't
like the
know.
thing is, like for me, it's like in terms of like whether or not a group is subbing it, it's like none of these people have to. None of
Yeah,
them.
no one's getting paid to do this, guys. We want it. They gave it to us. Let's just enjoy it while we can.
Now, a lot of people just feel like because here what in the last 2 years was when the cease and desist really hit,
Mm,
and it hit for the dumbest
yeah.
fucking reasons. Um, so to be fair, Toei has always known that fan subbers dub their shit. They have.
As long
Be-
as they don't make a profit on it, it's fine.
because well, as long as they don't have a profit, and as long as in the case of TV Nihon, was as long as they pulled the stuff that got licensed.
Mm. Like by license, we mean anybody that officially like was paid to sub this and put
Right.
it out in the West on for available purchase to anybody. Then the guys who first subbed it, they have to pull it off their sites because now they're costing the main guy's revenue.
Right. The easiest example to use for this right now is 01, because
Yeah,
that has officially been licensed in the US by Shout Factory
and
through
it can be watched for free on any platform.
um well and
To be free,
I'm going to reiterate that it's not on any platform on any operating system,
fair enough.
because it's only either on the web browser or on Tubi.
Fair enough. Okay.
Um
That's a little more clear.
Kamen Rider Kuga and Kamen Rider, the original Heisei and the original Showa, are also on VRV because of Shout Factory's deal with them. Whether
Ryuki's on Tubi too.
right, well, I'm was specifically referring to VRV,
Ah,
because Tokusatsu has a deal with VRV. Whether or not that'll continue to include any of the newer stuff, we're not entirely sure because none of that stuff has been added. Also, hey, what's up, Drago? I have found no villages. Jesus Christ, and I am almost dead.
oh
I've been walking in almost like a straight line for like an entire day in this game.
my gosh.
Um, so with anyways, back to the oddity that is Dawn Brothers.
Mm,
As much as I need explanations of how this show works, I'm kind of digging it. I'm not completely sold on it yet because there are very confusing aspects of this show.
is fair.
Which primarily are pink and black, and god damn do I need answers.
Even they're like, look, I did not ask to look like this, okay?
Um, so the story so far focuses around Yellow, a high school manga artist wins who won an award for what, like best new manga or whatever.
Mm.
Um, only for her to immediately get hit with plagiarism.
Her award got revoked. She's been banned from the writer's office. Her boyfriend hates her. Her friends hate her. She's
And,
got a crap ton of bad luck in one go.
which, given the fact that this is all based in some bad luck, I feel bad for Pink Village.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, buddy.
so but the story focuses around, like I said, around her, and the glasses spawn for her. She starts getting chased, blah blah blah. She ends up in somewhere where the guy who found Momotaro is pretty much, for lack of a better term, in prison. Laser bars and all.
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't know what the fuck that's up with. I'm betting it's got something to do with the jackasses who keep killing people.
yeah, I mean, I have a feeling it has to. It involves the three, of which we have met two, and I, for one, cannot wait to meet the third. I guarantee you, the third will be my favorite, and if anybody needs to know why,
She's hot.
yes, yes, um, and
And I don't
yes,
say that out of shade. She's fucking hot.
and yes, Drago, it is a Toshiki Inoue written Sentai. It um for lack of a better term, we're 2 episodes in, and counting the little splash things that they did for because of the fact of his name is Momotaros. They did
Well,
3.
Momoe Taro. But yeah,
Well,
basically.
I mean Don Momotaros. Specifically,
Oh,
his
fair.
ranger name is Momotaros. Um, they've done a 3-part crossover with Momotaros,
Yeah, I saw it.
and it is the dumbest crossover ever.
And I love it.
The third one is my favorite because it's lazy Deno. That has always been my favorite joke when Momo half-asses his Ore Sanjo.
Yeah.
Now, they have also done a splash for Senpaiger, which 100%
Oh
tells
my
us exactly how
god.
this show works.
I am so excited.
This show is Gokaiger season, what, 3 now?
I don't see that as a bad thing.
And I don't either. However, depending if what I read is true, the show works a little bit differently than Gokaiger did.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fair because they
Which,
can't hold it for very long, I don't think.
well, that's, to me, that's not the difference maker. The difference maker, more specifically, is the fact of when Pink transforms into
Oh,
Drago.
yeah, the skirt.
So, real quick, Drago, we're gonna get onto that, and yeah, just hold off on that one. I'm gonna circle back to that after we get. Or I'm gonna get into that after getting into or finishing up this bit on Don Brothers, because Drago wants to know what your thoughts are on the O's movie.
Oh, we'll
And
get there.
we are definitely coming back to that. Don't you worry.
We'll get
Um,
there.
but in Gokaiger, if say Pink transformed into it was color-based. It didn't matter who was who. If Pink used a red key, she turned into red.
It's kind of like in Gokaiger, whenever they didn't have the exact same color, they would approximate to the closest one. But in
Right.
this one, it matched.
And that which leads to which leads to a question, but I'm gonna get to the question in a second. I'm gonna focus real quick on the main difference in how it seems to work is in, like I said, in Gokaiger, if red used a pink key, they turned into pink. That's not the case. They're not color individual. It's pink turns into pink and that's it.
Mm.
And the other main difference is they keep the female suit actor as well.
Yes. I remember that.
Because after, spending my time watching 20 years of this damn show, I can tell when a character has boobies. And to be fair, Japanese suit actors, it is more difficult to tell.
Yeah, but when you watch enough of it,
Yeah, you notice the signs. So yeah, this is going to be more akin to Gokaiger, but red will only transform into red. Blue will only change into blue. Which leads to the question, what about all the extra colors?
yeah, ain't that gonna be interesting?
Because we have several instances of green Sentai members. We have, to be fair, the sixth will probably be able to transform into silver and or gold.
And let's be fair, guys, we have almost every conceivable color of the rainbow. I say almost, but that's still a hell of a lot of colors to go from.
Um, and then like as much as this irritates me about this show, there's it and how much I love it. It is a very stupid joke, and nobody can argue that this is the dumbest joke in the show. But I enjoy it as much as I know it's stupid. Yellow not knowing or not being able to figure out who the fucking bad guys are.
Oh my!
I give her credit with I will give her the benefit of the doubt with what the fuck is his name? The blue one.
I don't know it yet either. It'll take a minute.
I don't even think they gave it.
Nah, he's just this pompous, stuck-up motherfucker who keeps screwing with everything.
So after she wins the award, she ends up getting attacked by her cab driver, who is a monster. And in her defense of thinking this guy may be Momo, he shows up out of nowhere on a motorcycle and just basically beats the shit out of the monster that's attacking.
Which effectively kills the guy.
Yeah. So her sliding to him when she's told to go find, Momotaro. Cool, fine, I accept it. And in defense, she's never told Momotaro. She's told his actual name, which is very similar, and anybody with a brain should be able to make the connection. But yeah, her doing the Shinken Blue slide. Nobody can tell me that's not the Shinken Blue slide.
I mean, he did monopolize that, let's be fair.
He did, and that was a very prominent of his first introduction to everybody else was, my lord, no, you're my lord, no, you're my lord. Because he did it to everybody else before.
Because he didn't know who was who.
Right. To be fair, nobody gave their names or anything. He just assumed.
Well, okay. The difference, I think, is that they only pulled that until the real Lord was made clear. She's keeping this gig up for at least another episode, if not longer.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen at least one more time. I found something off in the distance. I'm gonna check it out. Unfortunately, it's getting dark, and I didn't steal a bed from the village. Shit.
Go back and steal one.
I went too far. Um, and I'm not plotting out my path. I'm just kind of aimlessly running, primarily in one direction,
Ah,
but still. Um,
if it wasn't obvious, I don't play Minecraft, so
which is fair. Um, though to be fair, this was why I'd asked if you did.
fair enough.
That's a great comment, Drago. Drago says, "Look, man, there are probably 100 other people named Momotaro."
Well, I mean, after Deno, honestly, probably.
A sad thing is they're all probably the same person because of Deno.
Oh,
This is the show that
oh my.
never ends. And he has the ego the size of a moon.
Fuck that. He has an ego the
Fuck
size
out
of
to bed.
fucking Jupiter.
Um, but like the show's off to a fantastic start. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, coming off of Zenkaiger more specifically, it's a bit more serious.
I
It,
think it feels more serious in that it's a lot more. There's still antics,
but
but
it's not like the
it's
basis of like how they found the
it's not
monster
solely
or
focused on comedy. Yeah.
like to me that like if I had any gripe about um Zenkaiger, and Rai can back me up on this if he ever checks in and listens and or um reads in, rewatches this. I bitched a lot about them just like doing nothing and then there's the monster right next to them. I found only one funny, and it was even the dumbest one, and that was the beetle one,
Yeah.
where Zox is out looking, and I need to steal you. What am I doing? Um, where Zox is out looking for the monster, and they decide, hey, we're gonna splash that building with honey, and then it's on a fucking post right next to him.
Well, it worked, didn't it?
It did, and like that was, but that was literally the joke, and it was every fucking episode. Like they'd go out to
Yeah.
look for the
I
monster
guess
and
I can
would
understand that.
they would either run immediately into the monster without looking for it, or they'd go looking for it and it'd be right there. There was only a handful of times where the monster just disappeared. It truly disappeared. Though I have to actually I take that back. There is one other instance of Zox just finding the monster that I think is absolutely hilarious. And that is the one that was hiding
The
from
jack o'
him.
lantern.
The one that was hiding from him, and they caught him in the tunnel.
Oh yeah. Got it. That one was cool.
Like to me that was the funniest one because he even ran away and then ran right past him again.
Yeah.
Like as much as Zenkaiger irritated me, and with good reason why Zenkaiger irritated me with some of its stuff, the show knew what it was doing with its humor,
Hmm.
and it leaned heavy into it, and it accept every aspect of that show. They knew what they were doing, and they didn't half-ass it.
Very
Um,
true.
because we've had shows before where like they half-ass the humor, and it doesn't come across right. For example, Q Ranger. Um, Now, overall, I liked Q Ranger. It had a lot of fucking problems,
I know.
but I
Oh.
feel one of the biggest ones was it tried to lean too hard into the humor while still
Yeah,
half-assing why it's funny,
I can understand that.
or or trying to lean too heavy into one thing, which got to be the most annoying thing ever, before finally explaining it in like the last 3 episodes of why it was a good thing. And for the
Look,
record,
I
that's the Yosha
acknowledge
Lucky
Q
thing.
Ranger. I know.
um, which I have to give credit to the Senpaiger skit. So for that, Don Momotaro's transforms into the Senpaiger, which are pretty much all the Reds from like
Oh boy.
pretty much from Gokaiger to now.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it in the best way, and it was my favorite thing that they did. He uses all of their catchphrases.
Oh dear no.
The only problem I had with it was his. I mean, that was a problem too, Drago. The large cast, yeah, that was a problem too. Because it didn't give him
Yeah,
time to
but we knew
flesh out
that going in. We knew that
characters.
going in that might be a problem.
Right, and we were not wrong on that. I called every issue with that show as it happened. And like I said, it's like the show in of itself is not bad. It has its
It's
problems.
not. It has its problems.
There are things it could have done much better. More specifically, the end of the show. But in general, it was decent. And for given the fact that it was a chance to change the formula up, wasn't a bad thing either.
I will admit I am biased, so
Now,
I'm
um, now we get to discuss the villains that we have for the show, and then we'll move on to the 10th Metal Resurrection. um, so the villains this time are based on some form of human greed, jealousy, avarice. You know, the female is, I guess, all about the
left.
love slash lust. The thing that's odd for them, for me, for in terms of Sentai villains, is it's rare that we get ones that are that are so very obviously Ultraman villains.
Yeah. I mean, fair, honestly.
And I'll give them credit; they look amazing.
They really do. Plus, the fact that they transform in themselves is kind of cool.
Right, like that was unexpected. Like I saw the previews, and I saw that human form, monster form, cool, awesome. Because let's be real, that's not the first time we've had this. I mean, this goes all the way back to just just out of Sensuko Kaiger, Enter and Escape from Go Busters. Both had human and monster forms. Granted, Enters was literally just evil Red Ranger, but whatever. But having them have like their own little transformation device and is kind of awesome. And in the case of where I feel it learned from, despite the fact that it was very much an integral part of the story over why, but the main villain transforming isn't done with a knockoff of the current Ranger shit. It worked for Stacy in Zenkaiger, cool, fine, I'll accept it. I just like the villains having their own way of doing things. Um,
That's never a bad thing.
no, it's not. So it's like the show is setting up to be pretty damn good. It's like I said, it's like it's not lashing straight into like what definitive genre, for lack of a better term, this series is going to be. Because it's not locking in whether or not this is going to be something very funny or something super serious. It's more kind of like middle row because it has the capacity for the hilarity given Momotaro and his extraness. Nobody can say he's not extra when literally the finisher is, hey, let's raise him up on a fucking platform.
Thought we'd learned our lesson in the ninja, but here we are.
Well, to be fair, everybody realized that lesson was wrong in Ninja because Ninja was, not great.
Yeah.
Having gone back and binged it, I can't say Ninja is bad, but
It's
it's
not the
not great.
it's not the clusterfuck that everyone claims it to be, but it ain't exactly Time Force.
Um, oh, fuck, Time Force was fantastic. Time Force was a great
That's
series,
what
and honestly, they did a fantastic job with the.
unfair estimate, I'll admit.
They did a fantastic job of the fucking American version too.
Yeah.
With the because that was one of the few series that like fully truly paralleled the Japanese version.
hmm Well, done well, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like
I think we all know
Quantum
how the Samurai Shinkenger fiasco went.
but like you get the Quantum Ranger introduction in both versions and they're damn near spot on the same.
Yeah.
Same thing with Red um works when Red gets revealed to his dad. It runs the same similar scene in Japan when his identity gets revealed.
Mm.
Fuck biscuits. That's not gonna work. Ow, fucking dick, die. Thank you. I'm an idiot. I placed my bed in the middle of the woods at night and went, hey, I'm gonna sleep here. Forgot monsters are spawning. Um, and I think Drago's right in this, and what makes um Don Momotaro's work with him being as flashy and extra as he is they've made the person behind the mask basically normal.
Mm.
Like he's got some oddities to him, like the fact that he's a delivery boy and apparently he's fully willing to clean somebody's house.
And he physically cannot stop telling the truth.
Yeah, he is 100% incapable of telling a lie.
I didn't say that. I said he's incapable of not telling the truth. There's a difference.
Well, yeah.
Because like, it's not lying to choose whether or not you answer a question. You know?
Right. He will not withhold the truth. He will not spare your feelings. For example, in the case of episode 2, if you look 68, he's going to tell you you look 68.
But he doesn't mean it in a bad way.
Right. But
or if you play rock paper scissors with him and you ask him beforehand what he's gonna pick, he will damn well tell you what he's gonna pick.
Because he's an idiot.
And he has to tell the truth.
But him being like that while untransformed makes him and him only being ridiculously extra when transformed is pretty much what makes the character work. And I'm fully inclined to agree with that. I have no idea what I'm doing in this game. I'm just aimlessly walking. Um,
I get that.
but yeah, like I 100% look forward to seeing where this show goes and getting some damn answers. Um,
Absolutely.
because like Ryan had said, like for me and him, because I agree with Ryan on this. This is how you start a show where you just drop people in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, here's the world. Here's a character you can relate to. Good luck and have fun.
Right. And it will explain things as we go. Um, I've enjoyed this every time that they've done something like this in Kamen Rider, because
Yeah.
they've done it frequently in Kamen Rider where they just, here you go. To be fair, the worst example
Speaking
of
of
that.
which,
To be fair, the worst example of that was Blade,
mm,
only because of when it threw you into that one.
mm, speaking of which,
Shall we discuss what you have deemed fuck no?
okay. So this is speaking as somebody who was
So
purposely spoiled but has
real
not
quick,
watched it.
real quick, for anybody who has not watched the 10th anniversary of O's, you can tune out unless you want to be
Get
spoiled.
out!
Get out now. This is your only warning. There will not be another.
Unless
Um,
you don't care about spoilers, in which case, welcome. Let's ruin a movie for you.
oh God, am I gonna ruin a movie for people? Um, so I agree with Drago on this. That given what we've got, this does feel proper.
This feels like a monkey's paw is what it feels like.
If you want to truly get into um the fact that the show or why the movie works and why everybody's truly pissed off, I'm gonna frame it right now. People are truly pissed off because we didn't get what we were expecting. They spent
Which is the
10
two of them being alive together.
they spent 10 years dangling that in front of us. And in no way did they give it to us. And so yeah, people are pissed, and I feel rightfully so. I mean,
Although I will say, now that the anger has calmed down, I can understand the premise of why people are angry. The best way I can describe it is anybody who's remotely aware of the Kingdom Hearts series. You don't have to have played it. I'm not going to get into that. But basically, it's the idea of we waited for the third part of that series for over a decade, like 13 to 15 years, if you don't count everything in between. And even then, it still took a good, 8 to 9 years before we finally got what we were looking for.
and
But the
then
point I'm trying to make is so many people were speculating and throwing out ideas and how it would work out in their heads and in so many different mediums that when we finally got the clear cut product, it wasn't what people wanted because we'd imagined so much that it didn't live up to those imaginations.
we hyped ourselves up. Like
And we got
100%.
bit in the ass for it.
100%. I will admit that, because as soon as that trailer dropped, and because let's be real, the trailer lied to us.
It did.
100% the trailer absolutely and completely lied to us, because the people who made that trailer knew what we as fans were expecting for O's, for how
But
that
it wasn't
story to
this.
end. Yeah, hell no, it wasn't this. Um, hey, I'm gonna still get potatoes. So everybody went into this expecting Edgy and Ankh to be finally reunited, because, to be fair, that's what the show has hardwired us to expect. Um, like, and Drago's right, and I will I will accept that you're right, but it also never was. It wasn't stated because he says when Future Unks came back in the Megamax movie, it was it was implied that Edgy was dead, but it was never specified. And yeah, I get it. Toei has a habit of just, we're gonna imply shit and just hope you get it and hope you understand.
Yeah, because that's worked out great.
Um, but at the same time, is like, even with it being implied that he was dead, I mean, dude, it was like what 70 years in the future. Yeah, there's good possibility that by that point, Edgy had died. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I can accept that. I my personal feelings will not allow me to accept that this is how it happened and when it happened.
Yeah, because I think when we came to that realization, it was more to the idea of, okay, he's probably died of old age, Ankh outlived him, and then when the portal opened, he went back for one last day with him or something like that. We did
Right.
not expect it to be, oh, he's been gone for fucking decades at this point, and now Ankh is looking for that last day.
Like I will admit, like this does fully change the tone of that movie. At least when it comes to Ankh and Edgy's interaction.
Yeah, no kidding.
Um, for me, for this movie, that Edgy being dead, the entirety of this movie is the part that pisses me off. And yes, I understand. Yes, he due to the greed, he gets that last moment. I don't count that. He was dead from the start of this movie and the entirety of it through. I don't care. Um, that last bit means nothing on whether or not he was alive or dead. Um, because if not for the greed, Goda keeping him quote unquote alive, it was basically the issue of Hina's brother. So if Goda leaves,
Yeah.
he dies. End of story. Very limited time frame in which for greed to possess him. Other than that, he's a dead man.
The only possibility that could have stretched out is maybe if Goda had been possessing Eiji longer, a similar situation that could have happened with Hina's brother was if he'd stayed, he could have let Eiji heal over time. At least to the point where he wasn't solely reliant on him to keep him breathing.
Right. For example, again, like you said, that's exactly what happened with Hina's brother. Um, I will say him dying in this movie, at least the way he died in this movie, I fully accept.
Yeah. It's not the method that I'm upset about, it's the result.
Yeah. Like I have no problem with the fact that he died basically fulfilling his one regret.
Yeah.
Granted, at the cost of his life, but he fulfilled the one regret he had of saving that girl during the war. So yeah, he got.
Cost him everything else, but it was worth it.
Oh, Shu Watanabe is amazing.
Yes, he is. He's one of my favorite actors, full stop.
Well, he may be your second hated writer too, because he did help write this movie. This movie is technically part fan fiction.
I know.
um. So now to get into the gripes of that are the movie itself. The movie itself, overall, an okay movie. It's not fantastic. It's not amazing. It's a movie that exists. Um, it even with the little preludes, it just kind of throws you into, for lack of a better term, the O's crossover movie with
Okay, seeing as it hasn't been like accepted into canon just yet, can we claim that it's not until it's referenced in some other medium in Toku?
what Edgy's death.
If only for the idea that I know whenever they're gonna have a big ass like hero crossover, they're gonna bring O's back.
Oh yeah, absolutely, they're gonna bring O's back. The problem is, in this particular instance, it is 100% canon. This
Hmm.
movie is absolute canon. Um, that's not to say that they can't bring him back because, oh my god, they have Deno's or the, I think it was the Deno crossover movie with O's, where it was, you know, the post-apocalyptic because the writers, Ichigo and Nigo got beat the shit. Because that entire world is considered non-canon.
Yeah,
So for the crossovers, they can just use that Edgy.
I
Um,
friggin' hope so.
or they'll pull the Momotaro's thing where Edgy or Ankh shows up and possesses somebody. Um,
Honestly, can I be real with you?
yeah,
I
always.
accept that it's canon. I will accept that it's canon. This kind of feels in the vein of comics. You know how they'll try to add stakes by killing off a hero. Like anybody who's read the first Civil War and knows about, even heard about it, and knows about Captain America's death, like him getting shot at the Washington Monument, and just straight up, you knew it wasn't gonna stick. You knew. I'm not saying that's gonna be the case with this, but this feels very in the vein of they wanted to add stakes to this, and they wanted to add something that felt permanent, regardless of whether or not that was true.
Okay, so in the guise of, or
I'm just trying to cope with this.
so I will help you cope with this a little bit. It may not be good coping, but I will help you cope. So we all have seen crossover movies over the last 10 years. Fives has been in all of them.
Yes. Oh my god.
He dies at the end of that show.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
So life and death in Toei don't mean a damn thing when it comes to the movies. The only way this movie would truly matter in the grand scheme of things, I think I found a mine shaft. Yep, I'm gonna set up shop here. Um, Fuck off. Um, that is not a good thing. Um, where it ends up being an issue, like we said, it literally is only in crossover movies. No,
Yeah.
why is that here? I found hell. My own personal hell.
Oh, lovely.
That is deadly over there. Um, but yeah, it's like in the end, death isn't. Yeah, Pfizer's died a lot.
I only say it in that vein as some sort of reasoning, like a corporate reasoning of if we kill him off, we can't use him in the movies anymore.
Toei has.
That's my that's my like corporate reasoning. Trying to.
I would accept that if Toei ever gave a shit about that.
I know that's why I know it's shit.
Toei
Look, I
literally
realize
killed
I'm in
off
denial about this. Okay, I'm trying.
Toei literally killed off a character and then turned around and put him in a movie.
That was weird.
Toei doesn't give a shit.
No, they don't.
And I can fully accept Toei not giving a shit. Hey, what's up, Rye? If
Oh
you have
shit!
not watched if you have not watched the O's movie, please leave now or you're gonna get it
Get
ruined for
out.
you. Telling you that now. Because that's what we're discussing at this particular moment. So you have been warned. Um so um I'm going to go back into the actual plot of the movie. Um this movie throws you back into the events of O's in the worst possible way. No explanation, no nothing, just oh by the way the God King is the um
God King is here and he's pissed.
yeah, the O's King is pissed. He's been basically destroying the world for the last 10 years. Well, I do appreciate you stopping by, Rye. Um, which in defense of Toei when it comes to O's is very much a thing that Toei has done consistently.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
kind of.
because I mean they did it in the crossover movie for O's, where they just threw you into that world, didn't explain it, and just assumed just let everybody just assume how it got to that point. Like even with the prologue, we still truly never get the explanation of how the God King how King O's came back. It is
Yeah,
heavily implied how it came back. Basically, Kogami. That somebody really needs to stop Kogami.
yeah, he's kind of a dumbass.
Mr. Happy Birthday is literally the reason for every problem in O's. Everyone.
He is.
His greed is what causes all of it. It's what causes him to search out O's, what causes him to search out uh, the core metals, creating the core metals, and he never stops. We know this from the fucking Megamax movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we and I guess in theory he did at least succeed at least once at creating core metals.
And that's a good
I
thing.
guess. Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. He made core metals without creating a greed at least once. At least,
Okay, fair.
um, now whether or not Birth X comes with a greed, we don't know. But we know he fucked up with the core metals he made for Edge using Edgy's desire, and that he fucks up in the future, which makes it even more annoying that he in theory did get it right with um the birth ones. Because how did you get
Yeah,
it
what
right
was the
and then
difference
turn
there, jackass?
right? How did you get it right once and then fuck it up the second time? Unless he literally did it purely by accident.
He may be funny, but he's still a raging dick.
Which is an easy enough transition into what I feel is the biggest issue with this movie, due to all of the promotional shit behind it. The fucking Birth X is absolutely useless.
Yeah.
It is 100% pointless in its use. Because it literally goes from King O's and Birth getting his ass kicked, them running off to get Birth X, go to becoming O's, well, King O's, him showing back up with Birth, and then literally in this, and it's the exact same fight. Birth X gets wrecked just as much as he was when he was Birth.
Really is.
Like there was zero purpose for him to even use Birth X. I don't care what anybody
Stuff.
says. Um, hey, my stream is unstable. Go figure. Ah, what else is new? Um, what is going on? Oh, there we go. All right, apparently some of that may have skipped out. But yeah, it's like Birth X serves zero purpose in this movie.
Which sucks.
He serves about as much purpose as any of the fucking side characters in the movie.
Oh, brother.
Because none of them served a purpose.
I know.
It says like the movie wasn't terrible. It just
It really wasn't. For a 10th anniversary, it was like, it felt good to be back with them, even if all of them were a bit superfluous.
right. But see, there was no purpose for that. Drago added in is like there were two purposes for Birth X. For the toy and for having Date become main Birth. While giving Goto another form that wasn't Birth Proto. I can accept that, but that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
If they were to me, if I was into this, I would at least give, Birth at least a little bit of an edge. Maybe not a long one, but at least make it physically worthwhile. Not because you want to shell out money for a toy and because you don't want to use the Birth prototype suit.
Yeah.
And yes, 100%, this was Ankh the movie.
I mean,
More,
let's be
hold
honest, we
on.
kind of knew it was going to be that going in.
I'm gonna be a little bit more accurate. This is Ankh Has Feelings, the movie.
Yep.
Yes, it was very good. And do you know what those 20? Drago said it needs to be 20 minutes more to beat 10 out of 10. And yes, do you want to know what those extra 20 minutes should have been? The goddamn final fight.
Yeah.
That, in terms of like the physicality of this movie, is my biggest fucking gripe for this. Is the overall final confrontation with Goda and Oz literally comes down to Ankh turning into the Tajador Eternity and basically doing 4 moves and the fight's over. Like there was nothing really, oh my god, this was a great Tokusatsu fight. Nothing about it felt grand. It was pretty much just, hey, look at the pretty thing we did with the suit. Please give us money for the toy. I mean, that's literally what it was. Don't get me wrong, I fucking love that suit.
I can't blame you for that.
In terms of, I guess, lack of a better term, final form. Because let's be real, Oz has clear contention and issues on what is the final form of that suit, or of Oz.
Yeah.
Because it constantly goes back and forth on whether or not the dinosaur combo or Tajador is the final combo. Um, despite the fact it brings back that argument, this suit is fantastic. Tajidor has always been one of my favorite Kamen Rider suits. I don't know, there's just something about the elegance to it, and then you go and add this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, yeah, this I agree, Drago. This movie was absolutely made on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe 3 or 4 locations in the entire movie.
Oh, jeez.
And 90% of the suits or the villain suits for this movie are literally just repaints of current ones. Most of the budget went to creating Tajidor Eternity and the new combo, Godo's
That
combo.
sucks.
Which also I'm very glad to see that combo in an actual movie, considering the fact that the first time I saw it was the first place anybody saw it, the Memory of Heroes video game.
Ah, yes.
Thank you to the Switch for being unregioned. And also thank you for Toei for putting that made me laugh. I'll get to that in a second. But I have to thank Toei for, putting English subtitles in a game that they really had zero intention of it being released in the US. But yeah, Drago says it's surprising that they out Tajador.
Yeah, it really did.
All right, so where did I put my house? Okay, it's over there. Ow, ground hurts. But now on to something that you have seen.
Revive! Let's go!
What a great fucking show this is.
I know, right?
This is a show I agree with Rai given the state of recent writer that I was hesitant to go into with the expectations of anything different. That makes a lot of sense. I keep forgetting that they have a lot of English speakers. Drago says Singapore and Hong Kong are the reasons why they had English subs for Memory of Heroes. I keep forgetting that. But I went into Revice expecting the same damn formula.
And we didn't.
To an extent. To the best possible extent. To the best possible extent. The one thing I wasn't wanting, and Rai didn't want, and I'm fully with him on this, is we didn't want another fucking writer versus writer show. Because for quite a while now, that's been about all writers been. Like, in its entirety. So I'm all for not wanting that to be the formula for the show. So at no point during this show, since its start, did I expect anything beyond writer versus writer. Even though it was set up writer versus monster. And apparently there's nothing there. Because honest and truly, Saber started out writer versus monster. At no point did I ever expect that there'd be 18 fucking heroes in that show. And at no point did there need to be.
Still love Saber.
Like, in the end, Saber was it was okay. It wasn't grand, it wasn't fantastic.
No, every show has its flaws. It's when you
Um,
find yourself loving it anyway that you know you found a good one for you.
right. Now, and I think it was the issue with the show's pacing was, I feel, the ultimate issue with why I ended up just calling it quits on the show until it was over and just deciding to binge it once it was done. Are you ah that was stupid of me. I built my house on top of a mine shaft that has monsters in it. Now I can't sleep in my bed. Well, shit biscuits. Um, but that was 100% all I was expecting this show to be. Um, the fact that while we've had some writer versus writer, it's not been the focus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's what saves this show. Is like, it feels very much back along the lines of, and I said this to Ryan, I'll even stand by my comment. It feels very Ryuki
It does.
in the aspect, and in specifically for the reasons why me and Ryan liked Ryuki, which was downtime.
Mm-hmm.
This show has downtime. The people act like regular people. Um, and seeing everybody interact on a more basic level, rather they interact as their characters rather than the writers. Like, and I feel that's where like Saber missed the mark. Is their characters were the writers. That's all their characters were. Um, and then that always drives me nuts in shows that, especially if they're gonna pit these people against each other. But then you get the story for Revice, which has been very slow to give us anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what's up, itty bitty? Sorry, I'm on Twitch as well, so I need to pay
No,
attention to
you're
both
good.
chats. The um, the story is very slow to give away things. Um, for example, the weekend. They set that they set that up, what, episode 4? For like the first couple of episodes, they were dropping hints that something's not right.
Yeah,
Eh,
every time you saw that kid with Sakura.
right, like it it went out of its way to go pay attention to this, and then went out of its way to make us wait for the explanation of what they were what it was for.
Yeah.
Um, which I feel leads to the intrigue of this show. Um, because, for example, one of like there's things that happened. I want to say it was literally episode 1. It's episode 1 or episode 2 that still nothing has been said about. And there's been no explanations, and that is the photograph, where at the end of the
Yeah.
episode where Icky disappears out of the photograph.
And it kept happening, but no one ever brought it up, not even Vice.
Right. Like, it was acknowledged that Vice saw it, but nothing, but we got absolutely zero explanation. And we're halfway through the show. The closest we get is possible implications.
And even then, the one theory I had of it was, it's because he's disappearing and Vice is becoming more like prevalent to the point where they're gonna swap at some point. And that happened, but it wasn't because of it wasn't as a
Like,
result of what was happening with the photos.
right. They weren't, it wasn't connected.
So then what the fuck is the deal with that?
Like, and that's the thing, is like, it's where we need the more understanding of the series. And it is where my point is, like, this show goes very much out of its way to be very minimalist in what it's giving away when it's giving it away. And like, it's not a bad thing. On a side note, so Drago says that he lost interest after the Hiromi incident.
Yes.
He says it's not like he does, like, it's not that he doesn't like Revice. It's more the only characters that he loved were Kagero and Hiromi because of how minimalist they are. Which I can accept, and I like me personally is like, I if you like characters and they're like your focal point of the show, cool, awesome, great, fantastic. I'm just happy you're watching. I like I get people are going to want to focus and lock onto one characters, and for whatever reason, and then when those characters go away, it does weigh heavy on you, especially like for us. We've been into this show and this genre of a show for fucking decades now. I hate to admit it,
Yeah.
I'm fucking damn near 40. Like, this has been like the last 20 years of my life.
No shade, it's been the majority of mine too.
Like, I mean, hell, I started watching this show when Decade started.
I'm 5.
But like the storyline, like they're getting into, and I absolutely have zero doubts that they're not gonna bring back Hiromi. Like 100%, he's coming back. That's just a thing.
They wouldn't have put that much into him and his character if they weren't gonna.
Given the fact that he literally became a writer because he impressed the fucking people doing the auditions. Like, him becoming demons was literally because they liked it, and he said, "To hell with this! I will become a common writer." Like,
And
he accepted what they told him, and he went, "Okay, I'll do this, but I will be a writer at some point, be it this show or another." And they quite enjoyed that conviction, so they wrote the story for him to become demons.
And it took on the Kiria effect of, well, he was gonna die,
but they didn't go the full Kiria. They didn't give us the full Kiria, because at least in defense, he actually died.
Yeah.
He
At
only
least as close as you could die in X-Aid.
Well, yeah. To be fair, he died in video game world, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His life was backed up, and mainly because I feel people in that show watch Star Trek.
Yeah.
But in the end, is like, I don't, given the fact of how beloved Hiromi is, I don't see him not coming back, and I don't see him not being a writer when he comes back.
Agreed.
Um, because he ended up coming back and they didn't make him a writer by the end of the show, that there's a problem. I
Yeah.
personally feel that there's a problem. God damn it! I forgot the whole reason I went up there. I climbed up to the top of the mountain to get wood, and then forgot to get the wood. Um, right. They didn't. Drago said like Hiromi's alive. He just went back home. Is like, right. That is the difference between this show and Kitty and X8. Is like Hiromi actually did survive. They went out of their way to make us think he was fully dead. Granted, I've watched enough Toku and that I didn't buy it for a second. Because I followed Toei's adage of "Did you see a body?" If you didn't see a
Nobody, no death.
body, no body, no death. And that goes for villains too, not just the heroes. Um,
Hell, villains is where the rule came from.
right. But it is merged into like the secondary writers thing, especially yeah, more specifically a writer than Sentai. But yeah, if you don't see a body, they're not dead. Um, it's why everybody was pissed off with Kiria in X8, who we saw the body. And then they went and did the Bugster route. Now he's evil. Is like, you motherfuckers pissed everybody off with that. Which I personally
They
feel
knew what
Toei
they
was
were
intent.
doing at that point because
Oh,
they were already teasing that he was gonna turn back to good.
right. Well, even by that point, like they knew they were pissing fans off. When
It's sort of like in the vein of, oh, you fuckers don't know what's coming.
when people got in trouble for shirts that got released.
Yeah, for those that don't know, they literally dropped a picture of Kiria dying on a t-shirt that said "Rip Laser, Christmas 2016."
Um, so that's funny. And I do need to correct a comment. Drago said he died a Showa rider death, which is fitting given the fact that his powers were based, or all of his genomes were based on Showa riders. Um, Falling off a cliff, like, and then seeing them a year later at a McDonald's, and it's Whack-Donald's. It's not McDonald's. You get sued for that. And if anybody who didn't get that joke, for the love of God, watch Slice of Life anime. Um, but yeah, so the show of itself, the story, I feel, is like given off the last couple of years. Like, to me, it's the most solid start that we've had, at least in out of the Reiwa era. Which, to be fair, this is only the third one. But
I mean, every gen has its bumpy starts.
right, like, for me, this show, it has the more perfect start to me of, I like the characters, I identify with the characters. Damn it. I um the storyline is intriguing, it's different, but it's new and the same. And to be fair, he is only a part-timer at McDonald's. Um so yeah, I needed to, damn it, I fucked it up again. Oh, I'm going to find coal. Ow. Ow. I'll take torches instead. God damn it, I wasted that time to do that. Glowberries. I get new shit. Um, but like it starts off intriguing enough, and like almost every episode they're adding something different, something new to throw a wrinkle into the story, to what we know, to what we think we know. Um, Even if it's something obvious, like adding in the weekend and their leader. It didn't take us long to figure out who in the hell he was,
Mm-hmm.
but it throws a wrench into what we know.
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's what makes these that fuck, that was not that, how you I'm stuck, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I died. Motherfucker. Um the like it changes things. The show's constantly growing, and it's not sitting at the same place episode, for weeks at a time.
Mm-hmm.
A la um 01. And that's nothing bad against 01, but that was an issue
Was.
where we watched, you know, 2 months of that show and it was the same damn episode essentially. That bastard got my shit back. Good. Um, I don't know. It's like Revice for me is what I prefer in a writer show. It's fast paced enough while still being slow. Um,
It's got the pacing down.
right. Like there's aspects of the show that run fairly quickly. For example, the whole we need to get the 10 buy stamps back.
That was
That
fast.
that went by faster than I was expecting, given the fact of what we had for the. No, I have not caught up with Dino Fury. I got to
Not
Lord. I
too.
watched enough to know that Lord Zed was a thing, and then I stopped watching. All I know now is what I saw for promotional material, which shows that they're using the villains from TokuCraft.
And they referenced Ishinomori.
But like it knows when to reveal information. It doesn't just
Mm-hmm.
throw everything at us. And I feel 01 stemmed from that, and nothing through no fault of its own. 01's issue was the pandemic.
Yeah.
The
Saber
pandemic
too, for that
happened.
matter.
Well, 01's issue was the pandemic happened, and then that literally fucked with production. At that point,
Well,
nobody
yeah, but
knew,
Saber had issues with COVID too.
but by that point, at least production wise, they knew what to do by that point.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like and I will give Saber credit, they worked well given the fact that they knew they might have to change script because characters might get ill. It might have to be out quarantine for, X amount of time. They may end up getting hospitalized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like by that point, the production staff of Saber and the writing staff of Saber knew what they needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes it, but we get it. It's why I give Saber a pass on certain aspects of that show, because like I know the production had to be different. It's why there's not a lot of side characters. The worlds feel empty. I will agree to disagree with you on that, Drago, because I fucking love 01. Um, so that is the hill I will die on. The Thouser arc, I will admit it was downhill after the or during the Thouser arc. I will not argue that. Um, Part of the issues were because of COVID. The episodes were cut. That would have made that a little bit more less jarring. But it was drugged the hell out. The last arc for 01 I felt was fantastic. But I will agree that there was the issue of it literally just going, oh, by the way, we're gonna make a movie. Like the end of 01 was, don't forget to watch the movie. We're not done with the story, but we have to finish it now.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely love 01. And I will die on that hill. Revice, I will admit, given the fact that um we have what 26 episodes we're into this, so we're about halfway through this show.
Hard to believe.
It does probably because despite the fact that this show has been going places, it's not been going places.
Yeah.
It's the weirdness of the pacing, because we have plot and we've had plot and it's been moving along steadily. Is like, but at the same time, they're so stringent on how much of the information we're getting that they're not, that it doesn't feel like it's going places. So it's like it feels slow, but it feels fast at the same time because shit's happening, shit's getting real. But between the three Reiwa series, Saber is my least favorite.
Understandable.
01 is my second favorite because Revice is fucking amazing to me. It hits all the right.
That we can agree on.
It hits all the right notes. About the only common sense issue I have in the show is the fact that nobody understands that dude is evil. How the fact nobody can figure out that the boss man in Phoenix is evil is beyond me. I get not understanding.
We'll get there eventually.
Like I get them not thinking about Captain Wabasabiki or whatever the hell his name was. Because he didn't become evil until, the start of the show. So within the world, he was recently evil. Whereas the head of Phoenix has apparently just always been evil. And I give the fact, like, while George is very untrustworthy, I feel a lot of his shit is he wants to make up for what his dad did. And he's the social awkward ADHD, I suck at explaining things, like mentality.
Sounds like him.
So he just kind of just does his own thing, whether it makes sense to you or not, whether it seems trustworthy to you or not. Like, it's setting up to be a very, very solid show. The issue is, I've said this before about several other Sentai and Rider shows too, where they were fantastic and then the end of the show drops the ball.
Just hoping it doesn't come to that.
About the only thing that I've noticed that seems kind of lacking in this show is the Aguilera storyline.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Um, which I get a lot of that has to do like, and it's going to be an issue for a little bit because a lot of her character story involves Sakura and she caught COVID during production. So there's going to be a fair bit of that that's going to be on hold for, however, or whether or not that actually affects anything that they were in the process of filming, we won't know because they could have spent, you know, 2 weeks film or the 2 weeks she was out filming things that didn't need her, and then could film her stuff secondary. Like there's the plus side to her not being a main character is it does open it up a little bit more. It's like the issue with 01 and COVID hitting when it did is that literally happened and they had to completely shut down production. In this particular
Mm,
instance, it looks like that would be the same as if the main character caught COVID.
mm, cute,
And the
like, get on
only,
major.
yeah, at least they had enough film that they didn't have to stop production for it.
Thankfully.
Um, they just filmed episodes that he wasn't the focus of, or they did the weird green screen effect, which that was always a delight when they did that. They did that a fair bit with Kara Major. Um, but yeah, like Tokusatsu is like I'm not seeing a lot of negatives for this year. Um, Even what I've read about Ultraman is looking pretty kind of awesome. Granted, a lot of what I've seen of Ultraman has been a lot of the same shit. This coming from a man who's now watching a show that is literally quite just another season of the same show. It's just slightly different. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where this drives forward. Speaking of, what show came after O's?
Did they announce it yet?
I sure no they haven't, but I really hope they fucking do.
Mm. If ever there has been an anniversary special I wanted, it was this.
Um, they've been fairly on the ball of doing them every year. Um,
Yeah. Well, they didn't do double, but I'm guessing the anime is going to cover that.
yeah, because they're doing the anime. Is why we're not getting the anniversary for double.
That's fair.
Which I'm not gonna argue with. Give me the fucking anime.
Yeah,
Give me
I
Futo
didn't say
Pie.
that was a bad thing. I did not say that was a bad thing.
Um, Speaking of, let's see if you were smarter than me. Futo Pie. Do you know why it's called Futo Pie?
Private investigators?
Yeah, you're smarter than me.
Okay.
It literally took until I was ended up watching. Yeah, I do hope Garo is returning. Um, Garo's fantastic.
I'm not gonna lie, I did cheat a little on that because I may have read some of the first few
I,
manga.
I think I think everybody did.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Um, the I and yes, I do want Garo to return. What was it? Zero Blood, I think is what it was called. And then the last one, the last one I saw, which was the video game one, were fantastic.
Yeah, buddy.
Got to remember to re-download those when I get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the issue is the people I fucking downloaded them from don't post them anymore. Um, because people can't keep their fucking mouth shut. You're gonna bitch about what fan subs are doing, or what production companies are doing. Please do not direct them to the fan subs. You fucking idiots. And damn sure don't tag the fucking CEO with a company in it.
Yeah.
You fucking jackasses. I will never get over that, and I will never get over the fact that some of these places are, some of these subtitle groups are stupid.
Yeah, well, we can't all be saints. We can't all be sinners. We can sure as hell be a little both.
Oh yeah. Revice teaches that well.
Why do you think I brought it up?
But yeah, it's like I am very much wanting more I'm wanting Tokusatsu to get more mainstream in the US.
Yeah, me too.
To the
Even if it's
point,
only subbed, I don't care. I want it more.
like here's truthfully what I want it to get to with Toei. Because let's be honest and real, Toei has its hands in a decent amount of US markets already. Um they they have their hands in a lot of markets. Is like, and I get finding distributors and all of this and wait US copyright laws and all that. So it's a giant pain in the ass to release stuff from other countries in the US. It is a giant pain in the ass. So I get why fan subbers are things like, but I want it to get to a point that they Toei starts working more in line with um the the current markets, they be it Tokusatsu, they already have deals with Funimation for their anime. It wouldn't be that hard to make one for this to where they start releasing the same way they do their anime, where it airs in Japan and then the next day there's subtitles here in the US and official subtitles. Like that is something I very much would like to see it get to. And I feel we're slightly getting there with Tokusatsu, or with the Tokusatsu deal, with more of it becoming licensed in the US and Toei realizing just how much of a market they have here. Like the future of Tokusatsu in the US, I feel, is a big is a decent it's a decent market, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to know it.
They'll if not, they'll figure it out eventually.
Burns.
Holy shit, has it been 2 hours already?
Yeah, it has.
Jesus, that went fast.
Which I which yeah, like that's what I'm wanting them to do. Like Drago points out that Ultraman basically uploads everything on YouTube, which is fun. Like like even if they do that, like I want easier access to official sources for Tokusatsu in the US. Like yeah, we
Yeah.
get the work. Yes, we have the Toei World channel where they throw in um where they they throw up a handful of episodes from a show to get people interested, and then there's no way for like the American audience to get them.
Mm.
Because they've been doing that where they throw up like the first 2 episodes of a series.
And then just say, screw you, that's all you get.
Right. Um but let's go ahead and kill this for tonight, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
Um, and for the record, for those of you who are actually watching the stream, this is my skin. It is Assault Hopper from 01. Shining Assault Hopper. Let me agree that.
Good
But
touch.
on that note, it's like it was actually quite fun to do this with you, King.
Yeah, I had fun.
We will be doing this, I feel, on a more regular basis, so that we don't have we don't have to try to condense our thoughts of 26 episodes down to like a 2 hour period. Have a good night, Drago. Because we've had that issue before doing the open cast where we take an entire series and try to condense it down to like a 2 or 3 hour podcast, and we end up doing like two of them.
Yeah.
So I hope to do these at least, I want to say, like around every other week, maybe at the least amount, the least frequent, once a month.
That sounds perfect.
If we do them every other week, awesome, cool, or whatever schedule me and you end up working out, or to include Rye if you ever Rye or Drago if they ever want to jump into these. Because I have no problem to anybody jumping into these. That
Me neither.
is from Toku Portal, is like, because that was very much a big part of the last 5 years of my life. Is like I'm not fully gonna let that go. And I don't care if Zero gets mad that we're doing this on his stuff on my stuff instead of his. I don't care that much.
Our stream now, buddy.
And to be fair, it was my stream, me and Rye stream from like at least for Sentai, pretty much since it started. But yeah, we'll do these a lot more frequently. I myself got to get more into streaming. I made a schedule last week to follow it, and literally have not done one of them.
It happens.
But all in all, it's like I've had a blast talking to you for Toku for the last 2.5 hours, almost.
Me too.
Or about 2.5, almost 2 hours.
Same to you.
But yeah, we will do this again. To those of you that joined and listened in,
thank you.
Thank you to Drago for jumping in the chat. Itsy Bitsy for jumping in the chat, even though she didn't talk much, probably because we're talking about things she has no idea about.
Welcome to the madness. It only gets crazier from here.
Yes, welcome to the madness. Especially if you're still here. If you stuck around for this long, Itsy, I applaud you. Thank you.
Good on you.
But yeah, it's like I will be back probably tomorrow or Sunday to stream on my own. But moving forward, we'll see where things go from there. In the meantime, thank you all for watching, and thank you for joining me, King.
Of course. Later, taters.
I do.